Okay. Whew, man, what a day, boys and girls. I don't think any women watch these streams though. But gosh, you kidding me? This is this is insane. I thought of a bunch of things to say right now and I forgot all of them because I mean, the Raiders did what they never really ever did and go out and just go all in an off season. Like all in. You know, Derek Carr is getting the Matthew Stafford treatment right now, which is nice. Right? But it's on his own team, right? It was new ownership coming in, or not new ownership, excuse me, new front office coming in and just saying, you know what? Like, we're gonna surround this guy with top talent. And that's that. Like, we're gonna surround this guy with top talent, and we don't believe it's ever been we don't believe that it's ever been that way since his career, right? I mean, he's had years where it's been that talent. And who am I talking about right now? Who am I talking about by getting that top talent? It's Davante Adams. The Raiders traded for Davante Adams. I'm losing my mind. Sorry, I'm just tweeting out the live link. I can't even do that right now. So yeah, it's I don't know, man. I don't know. So what did the Raiders give up, right? So in case you haven't really seen the actual nuts and bolts of this deal, the Raiders were reported at first. It was Adam Schefter dropped it, not our beat writers. It was a shock there. Dropped it and said the Raiders have traded for Davante Adams. And now I will say this: I don't know if anybody else has this problem, or like maybe it's just me and I'm not smart, but the Raiders looks like Ravens sometimes when you're reading something really fast and you're like, "Ooh, what's this? What's this breaking news?" Like the Ravens signed Michael Pierce today, and I thought we signed Michael Pierce at first, just for a split second. I was like, "Oh man, like we signed Michael Pierce." I'm like, "Oh shit, it's the Ravens." So then I see the Davante Adams thing. I'm like, "Is this the Ravens?" I'm like, we did it," and I had a sneaking suspicion. That they were working on this. And I didn't really put it on the timeline, whatever. But we were, I'm in a couple chats talking with people. I'm like, you know what? This Adams thing is going on for way too long. And, like this Adams thing is going on way too long in Green Bay. Like, you got to call. And I'm like, I think that's what they're doing. Right? Because it was the Raiders' first free agent signing. Darius Phillips, right? Is that his name? Yeah, Darius Phillips. Yeah, the corner from Cincinnati. It was a nice little depth piece. Nothing crazy. All the fans are mad. Fans are just pissed. They're like, what? Everybody's getting better. Da, da, da. I'll get to that later, by the way. The Ziegler, I want to fire Ziegler already, people. Psychopaths. The psych ward is coming for you with a straitjacket. That's where you're going. Sorry, you don't get to watch the Davante Adams and Carr thing because you were acting like a psycho during the tampering period. So, nonetheless, I look at it, I'm like, we traded for him. And it says, what I'm thinking, what did they give up? At least a first, right? You're thinking, in your head, you're like, first round pick, and then what, right? It says first round pick plus other prime draft picks and possibly a player, right? And I'm like, okay, that's a lot. Still, obviously it's a lot, but it's one of those things where, already I'm like a first, second round pick, I'll give up whatever. But like I was like a player too. Like who's the player? Then everybody, right? You start hitting your group chats. Who's the player? Who's the guy they're giving up? Who's the is it? It's not Waller. It's not Renfro, is it? I didn't think it was because why do you make that trade for Adams unless you want to see him with the two great weapons that you have in Renfro and Waller, right? Why not? Of course you make that play. Of course you do that. And I'm thinking like, okay, did they trade Alex Leatherwood? Did they trade Trayvon Merrick? Like somebody like that, maybe a recent pick on a cheap deal that Green Bay could use that maybe they were high on in the draft. Brian Edwards. I mean, like there's a lot of things that were happening that I was like, oh man, like, what's the deal? But either way, I'm ecstatic, right? I could have been my pinky. I've been like, hey, Glenn, cut off your fucking pinky and send it to Green Bay. Absolutely. You can have it. Take it. Really? I fleeced you. You should have taken my whole hand. I would have given it to you. That was how excited I was just to see that the Raiders acquired Davante Adams, right? Before knowing the deal. But you get curious. What did we give up? So it comes out now that the Raiders have only given up a first and second round pick. I said only, right? So I would like to apologize to anyone who's been dove deep into the draft process for the Raiders. My man Marcus Johnson, I'm sure he's very happy right now, but it's probably really funny that he doesn't his draft stuff. I mean, we did a draft video, top 10 wide receivers. All those guys are going to be off the board by the time the Raiders pick, like in the third round. I don't care. They got number one times in the NFL, right? That's what they got right now in Davante Adams. He's the best wide receiver in the NFL. And the Raiders went and got him. And it's like, where to even start, right? What happened in Green Bay with Davante Adams? How about that? What happened in Green Bay? It's been reported that Green Bay was willing to match the offer that the Raiders gave him, which the Raiders did end up giving Davante Adams a 5-year, $148.6 million deal. I think I have the figures right there. And it comes out to $28 million and some change, right? He's the highest paid receiver in the NFL. He's getting more DeAndre Hopkins, which is what he was reported to be asking for. And the long-term deal, right? He's not going to have to play on the franchise tag for a long time, right? And so there's, in my head, I'm like, well, it's crazy. We don't have any picks, but it's like, dude, this is what I wanted with these draft picks. The Raiders have been making really nice quality and a splash. I mean, we're already forgetting about some of the splashes they made on defense, but we'll get to that in a sec, because I'm going to react to that. I realize I haven't done a video on that, but gosh, I feel like I'm all over the place. Sorry, guys. I'm not in. I'm in Raider Glen mode, but it's like, I don't have to try to be this time. Like, it's crazy. Like, I don't have to put on the character. Like, oh, it's time. And you know what? Actually, I think I got something. Hold on. So I think I'm going to put on my visor. I bought a visor, right? Raider Glen visor. I'm not a visor guy. It doesn't look good on me, but I think it's time to wear the visor. I said I'd do it if the Raiders started out 4-1 this year or something like that, but I'm just going to do it now. Raider Glen, in effect. Okay? Fuck them picks, Hot Wheels. I agree. So what does this do, right? What happened in Green Bay, actually? Let me get to that. Now, he picked Derek Carr over Aaron Rodgers. And I'm okay. This is not Derek Carr's better than Aaron Rodgers, but maybe he likes being around him more. They know each other. They have a history. Fresno State. So there's, they have that history together. They obviously like Davante Adams. Did he buy John Gruden's house? They said they bought the house next to Derek Carr, right? Like, I don't know if it's that one or the one on the other side. I have no idea, but it's a $12 million home next to Derek Carr. Like, they probably were talking about this for a while, So in Green Bay, something's going on there, because they just paid Aaron Rodgers, and it looked like, if you're going to pay Aaron Rodgers, you got to find a way to pay Adams. But they give out $50 million to Devondre Campbell, who, played great linebacker for them last year. But your bread and butter is going to be adding pieces to small, clever picks around Aaron Rodgers, Davante Adams. That's your ticket. Now, the Packers have pick 22 now, and pick a little bit later that in the first round could double up at wide receiver there, and nobody would blame him for it, right? So what I think is cool about this is, like, okay, obviously on the surface level, the Raiders have now a true number one. They have the number one wide receiver as their number one wide receiver. You have a guy who you can just throw it up and know he's there. You have a guy who can get separation at any part of his route, whether that's right off the line of scrimmage, whether that's, a couple yards down the field, intermediate, deep runner. I mean, it's great. You're going to see a lot more, I think, just a lot more explosive plays in this offense, which is funny because he's not really a speedster, but it's just, he's so explosive in the way he can separate, but he's at the catch point is so good. He's so good, strong hands. I mean, like these are what guys think when they're drafting Jerry Jeudy, when they're drafting all these other guys. They think that they're getting a Davante Adams, right? But there's only one, and the Raiders got him. So what the hell are you going to do? Sit at pick 22 and go draft Jamison Williams? Are you going to go draft, Treylon Burks? I like those guys. I think they're good, but you're only betting that they'll be as good as Davante Adams, or even in the same ballpark as them. Now, the flip side of that is that Davante Adams is making a bunch of money now, and it's still, you have a little less to work with. But at the end of the day, I will take that known commodity. The way the Raiders have drafted, and I have no reason to doubt Dave Ziegler right now, and I haven't, because I just, for some reason, yeah, I will get to the Ziegler stuff in a minute, but the Davante Adams thing, what this does for the offense, is you have a known commodity, somebody we're not, well, I hope he's good. Oh, I can't wait to see this guy play. It's like, I can't wait to see him play, but we know that he's good. I don't know how far the rapport between him and Carr on the football field travels back, but I'd imagine there's still a little bit of that there. You kind of know guys' tendencies. Maybe they're just more refined versions of each other after, long careers in the NFL. And so I would like to see, what this does just to the offense, right? Because here's the thing, right? It's not when you get a true number one alpha wide receiver, when you get that, not only do you get a top receiver in the NFL, everybody else is better that runs routes. You know what I mean? Or even the running backs, right? The running backs are better because Davante Adams is on the field, right? Even if he's a one wide receiver, like you just cannot crowd the box as much. They have to account for him. And what's good for Davante Adams is, like, as the Raider fans, when we make a trade for like a good player, right? Like Antonio Brown, like it's like you're kind of like, okay, he's not coming to as good of a team, right? You even have to say that in your head. But like, okay, Davante Adams is not coming to as good of a team, but there are more receiving weapons around Davante Adams than there were in Green Bay. I know Marquez Valdez-Scantling is going to make some money in free agency. I wouldn't even be surprised if the Raiders got him, honestly, even though I'm not a huge fan. But like, you have Hunter Renfrow and Darren Waller. Darren Waller is such a good complement to that because he will be running in the seams and just dominating the middle of the field, as will Renfrow. And you can put a lot of your coverage shaded towards Davante Adams, but you are leaving two Pro Bowlers open at that point. Like, you cannot double Darren Waller. They're not going to be like, teams like the Chargers might have something for it where it's, you might have guys like, oh, I have JC Jackson now for the Chargers, and I have Derwin James for Waller and Asante Samuel for Renfrow. Okay, hold up all game against that. Hold up all game against that. And even then, fix your run defense, Chargers. I know you think you did on paper, but Josh Jacobs running down your throat. You know what I mean? Or whatever. Brandon Bolden, who seems to love being here already. Amir Abdullah, right? Yeah, all these guys benefit from number 17 Davante Adams being on the field. These guys benefit from that. I cannot wait to see what it does for them. They're gonna probably have to pay Renfrow this year. I think they're gonna get a lot of extensions done to kind of free up a little more space now. And then, after June 1st, you get the Littleton and Kwiatkowski stuff that clears out of there. So the Raiders are doing well. I think they still are going to be able to make some moves. Nothing major. I don't know. I don't know. Who knows? Who might have? A lot of people say the cap is a myth, and it's like, yeah, for some teams it's real, but it's all about how you do your contracts. And right now, Max Crosby's cap hit for this year is like $6 million because of the way Dave Ziegler and Mark Davis putting the cash up front. Let's give Mark Davis some credit here. I think Mark Davis, since the Gruden firing, has been on a fucking roll. I mean, he's been on a roll. I think we'll see. We haven't seen McDaniel's coach yet, but McDaniel's got no excuses. I'm sorry. Like with those weapons that you have there and a smart quarterback who has run the Earhart-Perkins offense with, as Marcus Johnson points out, Bill Musgrave ran that exact same offense. The terminology is different, but is the same offense in theory, right? Maybe a few wrinkles, but it's not installing a completely new offense in Derek Carr's head. It'll be newer to some of the other guys, but not that. So, this should take off right away. I mean, like it's weird because, without Adams, like you think the Raiders don't really have a lot of weapons, right? Like you have Renfrow and Waller, but like all alone, that's condensed to kind of the middle of the field, kind of shorter intermediate runs. But then you get the guy who just unlocks all of that, right? And it's not just a decoy guy. Like I'm not trying to hate on Henry Ruggs, but like a lot of times Henry Ruggs, his presence would draw deep coverage. But like Adams, you can't leave him alone anywhere. And I mean, I can't tell you how happy I am to see this, because another reason that I love this was, you look at the AFC West, and there's, it's gotten insane. I had to do a video to calm people down the other night, but deep in the back of my mind, I'm like, it kind of sucks to be in this division this year, even though I think the Raiders will compete in it. Like I did. I truly, even before the Adams trade, I'm like, you know what? They're going to compete. Fuck this. I'm not going to listen to these people. I think they should just blow it up. People, oh, you're not going to win with Derek Carr, so you should trade him away, blow it up. No, you know what? Here's the thing. Herbert and Mahomes, this isn't like Brady. This isn't like Manning in the division. These guys are young, and they're going to be on these teams for a decade. You have to man up and make a team as good as theirs. Even if Derek Carr is not as good as those guys, you have to eventually acquire enough talent to compete with those teams. Those guys aren't going anywhere anytime soon, They're already being crowned too early, in my opinion, but they're also not going away anytime soon, and they are good. And Russell Wilson too. Like you have that in your division. So what do? You get pass rush. You lock down your pass rusher that's in, Max Crosby. You lock him down. You let him know you're my guy, but we're not done, right? Then you go get Chandler Jones, right? Chandler Jones is 32 years old, but still last year was grading at a 90, had a 90 PFF pass rush grade. I mean, he's a beast. I mean, this is a guy who takes the ball out of people's hands, is a nightmare on the edge, and teams don't have two good tackles in the NFL. They don't. They have one. A lot of teams have one, but teams do not rarely have just like two really good tackles that you would trust against that caliber of pass rush. So Ziegler's already doing that move, and I'm like, great. So after the Chandler Jones thing, he doesn't waste any time, because what he could have done is said, hey, I have Yannick Ngakoue, who sucks against the run, but as a third down rusher, we know he can get home. Right? Maybe he could I kick Chandler Jones inside, get a little creative, Yannick off the edge, and have this super package. No. What he says is, I'm done with Yannick. He's making too much money to just be playing on third down, and I'm sending his ass to Indy. I don't mean to talk like that. Actually, I thought Yannick was fine for the Raiders. He played well. I shouldn't be talking like that. But they sent him to the Colts, right? And for Rocky Sin. And Rocky Sin is a starting corner. Now, I don't think Rocky Sin is top 20 in the league corners. He's probably not. But he's a starting corner, and a good one. A good, smart one, young, rookie deal. You get to see a year of him before you decide you want to commit to him for a while, and that's fine. At the end of the day, you just traded Yannick Ngakoue for him. So it's not like you gave up another pick for it. So to break that down, that defensive thing it took place in like 5 minutes on the sports notifications, right? We were reacting to one thing, and already it turns into the trade, right? And what you do is you sign your edge one, right, which is Max Crosby. Then you sign another edge one. You have two, number one edge rushers, right? So then you trade your edge two, Yannick at the time from last year, I should say, edge two from last year, for a CB, for a CB2, right? Like you do, or CB1. I mean, I don't know, but I probably a cornerback too. I still think they're going to make a move for Stephon Gilmore. I do. I think they're all in. Offensive line still has trouble, but it's like, I don't know. If you have a chance to be that good in coverage and have this many weapons, I think you find a way to patch the offensive line back together by addition by subtraction and getting rid of Tom Cable, right? Like, already there, but I think they're going to find a way to work around the offensive line stuff. They might not be great, but I think they'll be about average, which would be an upgrade from last year. Big time, right? So, Ziegler's already just I mean, and Bilal Nichols, like, I don't know much about him, but I know he, had some starts for the Bears last year. He's young, and it was, it seemed like a good 2-year deal. You building your depth on the defensive line. And, that's just something that you need right off the bat, is just attack that defense. I thought the Raiders were good in waiting after that weird Christian Kirk-like first day. Everybody was like, oh, the memes. Ziegler, my man's frozen. What are we going to do? All that stuff where Ziegler's like that, and it's like a screenshot of him. I'm like, okay, that's funny, I guess. But if you're seriously panicking, you shouldn't, right? People were getting really, really mad about that. And then I saw some people posting the Mayock picture. I'm like, oh, you want that back, huh? The guy who's left us with the sixth most dead money in the league. You want that guy? All right. Well, he shut you guys up real quick. And if the shoe fits, wear it. That's all I'm gonna say. Like, shut you guys up real quick. Chandler Jones trade yesterday, Chandler Jones signing yesterday, Davante Adams today, and then a couple other savvy moves, and they're not done. They're not done, especially without a first and second round pick this year. You get to pull from that draft allotment salary cap too, right? So you're not going to be paying your first and second round pick from this year, and they're going to go get some more guys, probably along the offensive line, probably along the defensive line, and yeah, it's exactly. It's like people were. I'm reading some of the chat here. Some of these guys they wanted the Raiders to make moves to make moves. They wanted it's like I'm addicted to the internet. Please make a move, Raiders. Like, and I hate you if you don't. And it's like, no, you know what? They were plotting, and it was weird because they were in on Allen Robinson apparently, but they were disciplined. Like Allen Robinson, I'm not going to, which makes me think that they want Allen Robinson and Davante Adams. I don't know. This is weird, right? How long was the Davante Adams trade talks happening for? I don't think they just happened today. I don't think they just started today. How long were the Davante Adams talks going? Because were they trying to get Allen Robinson along with him? Were they trying to find him? Were they trying to find him some, something to go along with? And they were like, we're going to dedicate this much money to 2 outside receivers. Maybe they were trying to do that. That's a possibility because, they've been in on like the DJ Charks. They've been like in on them, but they were disciplined enough to not go over a super high number. And it's gonna get interesting to see what they do after this. What else they want to do to the receiving core. How they feel about guys like Bryan Edwards. Like how. I think tight end too. Unfortunately, Foster Moreau. I'm not unless they like Foster Moreau. You're gonna need to address that. But these are all things that I think take a backseat to getting the best receiver in the league. I don't think anyone's going to disagree with it. Oh, Bill Barnwell does. Shut up, Bill Barnwell. Shut up. Because Bill Barnwell goes on Twitter and, let's see. I'm trying to find the Bill Barnwell tweet. It's so bad. Oh, also, I think this is Bill Barnwell from ESPN. Also, I think trading a first-round pick and handing out a record deal to a 29-year-old receiver is probably a really bad idea for the Raiders. Nerd. Shut up. This isn't fantasy football. This happened in real life. Sorry, Bill Barnwell. I didn't really mean that. But shut up. Let us have a fucking day. Give your little snarky reaction. This isn't Reddit. So, all right. How do I move on from that? I had to yell at Bill Barnwell there for a second, but yeah, he wasn't doing very well. But let's see. I think there was another report. As a lot of this news is coming in. So Ian Rappaport writes, the next step for the Raiders will be to extend quarterback Derek Carr. Davante Adams came to Las Vegas knowing his quarterback will be here for the long term. This is Ian Rappaport reporting this. Damn. That's rough for people who think players don't want to play with Derek Carr. That's rough. I've never been one of those guys, but I maybe in like 2018 I might have been for a little bit, but I never thought people didn't want to play with him. It's like people go sign with Carson Wentz and stuff sometimes. It's like the guys go where they're paid to go. Sometimes they get a choice of a great quarterback or not, but sometimes that comes with a reduced salary. Guys go play where they go, but obviously we know that Davante Adams likes Derek Carr. We have reason to believe that they were really good friends in college and that they stayed in touch for a long time. And, for a long time, Davante Adams was probably thinking, I got, a top 5 quarterback of all time, Aaron Rodgers. I'm not going anywhere. But when the situation came up, I think it's a no-brainer. And as pointed out by DJ in there. If they extend Carr this year and they push a lot of that stuff up front, Derek Carr gets to lower the cap a little bit, and people say he needs to take a team-friendly deal. There's really not team-friendly deals anymore in the NFL. The NFL Players Union doesn't even want team-friendly deals. They'll try to interfere with that because you never want to ruin the market for other quarterbacks. Not that Derek Carr thinks that, but like the league, the NFL Players Association thinks that you wouldn't want to have him ruin, the market by taking a low deal when a quarterback of his caliber is up for another contract. It's not good business for the players. So I think he's going to end up getting like the 36 to 38 million a year. And it does, if I'm not mistaken, it lowers the cap, or it helps with the cap this year if you give an extension to him, which again, they probably had that in mind, getting Adams or not. Right. I think they were going to try to do it next year, get Davante Adams next year. Right. If he played on the franchise side, I think this was something that Ziegler knew Carr wanted. And who knows? We don't know but it just never seemed to become a possibility, right? That Adams would ever leave Green Bay until now. So, yeah, I mean, like, I love what I've been seeing out of Ziegler. There's a lot of patience. He's not just splurging on people. Like, remember when Mike Mayock was here? It was like, just right away, Trent Brown, highest paid tackle in the league. Who I like Trent Brown. Actually, I think he might come back, honestly. But I liked him. But like, they made him the highest paid tackle in the league, and he did have work ethic concerns, right? He traded for Antonio Brown, which I supported at the time. I mean, it's Antonio Brown, right? You have a chance to get Antonio Brown for a third and a fifth. You do it every time. If it bites you in the ass, at least they were able to avoid his contract, right? But this was trading for a guy who's, Davante Adams, who, knock on wood, right? Did it 3 times. Knock on wood keeps his nose clean, right? And I mean, you move next to Derek Carr, how much partying are you really going to do, right? And this is just so much less. And there's always a risk, right? Guys get hurt, things happen, right? Like, there's always a risk, but this wasn't the risk that Antonio Brown was. Because even when that trade happened, I remember thinking like, okay, like, this is either going to go really well or really bad, like, I'm like, I was hoping, like, can we get a year or two of this being really good before it goes bad? That was kind of my thinking, but you do it every time, right? And, to the Raiders' credit, that would have really got them in the playoffs that year for sure. A year of Antonio Brown, but here we are now. You have Waller's emerged as a top tight end in the NFL. I understand last season didn't go super well for him, just with injuries. And an interesting thing about Waller is he was on, I think it was Bussin' with the Boys. I haven't listened to it yet, but what some people were saying was that he was saying, I want the ball this year. I want the ball. He didn't want to cause a rift in the locker room last year. So he kind of kept it to himself. He's like, I want the ball. I want to be that guy. I want to be the alpha of this offense. And while, at the time before they have Adams, I'm thinking, well, it makes sense. McDaniels fed Gronkowski all those years. He was the guy for the post Moss years. He was the guy in New England. So I believe it. This is a perfect offense for you. And, now there's the guy, and it's Davante Adams. It's the highest paid. Till Carr gets extended, he's going to be the highest paid player on the team. And, it does not suck for Darren Waller, because I think Waller will probably have some of his best years. I think he'll have more touchdowns this year. I mean, he's just in the red zone, Davante Adams and Waller. What do you do in the red zone with those guys? Those guys are both great. And, look, it's going to be interesting. The way, I don't know if Waller knew that was coming. I don't see Waller as a selfish guy, but you could tell last year really pissed him off, but in a good way. And I want to be better. I want help me be great. You know what I mean? In that kind of situation, rather than being mad at the team, more so look, I want to be great. Feed me. And, I still think they should. I mean, again, Adams might draw a lot of the coverage his way, and Waller might get more free space in the middle of the field than he's ever had as a Raider. So these are the type of things where that's why football is such a beautiful sport, is that it's not as like basketball where there's just one ball and the guys are shooting and stuff, and one guy could be a ball hog all game and that could piss the other star that was already there off. Like football is such a team sport that the guy that helps you, you know what I mean? It helps you in a way that somebody adding a great player helps a great player that's already there. Like more than it even, you know, it could be even more than Davante Adams' actual impact on the team could be what he does just being there. So yeah, I'm so happy. Like it's so great. You know, my mind as a Raider fan, you're like, okay, so how's this going to go wrong? But I don't want to be like that anymore. You know what I mean? Like it's weird. It's the Raiders. It's been tough the last 20 something years. I mean, 20 years basically. It's been really rough because you always think something's going to go wrong. It's always going to be some dramatic Shakespearean thing that happens to your team. And it's like, you know what? Obviously, Davante Adams everybody gets injured. It's the NFL. But you know, you traded for a guy who wants to be here, wants to be with the quarterback, and he's done nothing but produce his entire career, and I don't expect that to stop. So, you know, I think for a lot of people, they're like, okay, well, no more excuses for Carr, and that's true. Truly, even the offensive line, like, I think they'll find a way to fix that offensive line because, yeah, I meant to say this earlier when I was talking the offensive line. A way to fix the offensive line is by getting rid of the ball quicker, right? And Derek Carr does a pretty good job at that because I think it'd be a lot worse than people would imagine, especially under Tom Cable, is how fast Carr gets rid of the ball. It's too fast for some people. Some people want him to hold it longer, make a play. I like when he gets rid of the ball quick and the offense is humming. Personally, I like check down Carr. I've always been a fan. But I think sometimes when he holds the ball too long, that's when bad things happen. Every single time. Holds the ball too long. He's not the most fleet of foot, doesn't move super naturally to evade the rush, and that ball comes out from time to time. But, you know, I thought a lot of times last year, if you watch some all 22 stuff of Derek Carr being sacked, it's almost like, you know, there's sometimes where guys just aren't getting separation or getting separation early in their routes to where a sack can occur after that. And I think that's going to help a lot too. When guys are just open right away, you can get rid of that ball and you can do that Patriots Tom Brady style offense where you move up and down the field. Carr's not Tom Brady. I don't mean it in that way, but I think he is the same style of player is what I mean. Just the same style. He's a pocket passer, who's very accurate, throws a good deep ball, does not have the best arm in the NFL, but can make every throw you need him to make. Everybody who's been frustrated with Carr has always been the little things. And as DJ points out in the comments, the presence of Josh McDaniels, and I don't know what to think about Mick Lombardi yet, but he seems very well respected around the league. But guys like that are going to elevate the game. I think this is a more refined, modern offense. And Austin Gale said Derek Carr. I listened to Austin Gale's podcast on PFF, and he was like, "Scrap everything I said about the Raiders and take Derek Carr plus 3,500 to win the MVP." And it's like, that's not a bad bet. Plus 3,500. I mean, obviously, I don't think he's going to win, but like, I mean, if they go off this year, you know, I don't know. Like if somehow they win the West this year, I bet you Derek Carr is the MVP. Truly. It has to be, right? I think even the biggest hater of Carr would have to admit that that's probably how the Raiders will win the insane AFC West this year. That's all I'm saying. It's an interesting bet. I might look at it. But, you know, I think getting guys that can get open early, and you never know. The Raiders might find a wide receiver in the mid rounds who's a nice contributor or something, or an offensive lineman like a swing tackle or something, just something, you know, like they're not out of picks. What I like about this, and somebody pointed it out earlier in the comments, what I liked about this was that the Raiders were able to just have it hurt you only 1 year, right? And by hurt, I mean you get the player, but you don't have the picks, right? Have that. I don't like when they do, because I was scared it was going to be 2 first-round picks this year and next year. I was not scared. I still do it, but I love when you just look. You know what? I missed the first 2 rounds of one draft. That's okay. I mean, that's okay. If your franchise is moving well and doing well and winning, you're not thinking about those 2 years from now that you didn't have you'll forget that you didn't have a first rounder a couple of years ago. The only time we remember the reason I remember these Raider draft picks is because they suck a lot of times. The reason I remember what I mean, I love the draft. I'd probably remember them anyways, but the reason they stick out like that every first round pick of every year is because you remember hating them and investing a lot of hatred in them, and yelling at them and yelling at the people who made the pick, because half the time it's not even a guy who expected to go that high. And for that to just be over 1 year, we're not gonna have a lot of stuff to watch on the draft. I still love the draft just because I love to see where the players end up and stuff, and just the thinking about the team fits and stuff. But for the most part, it's gonna be a boring first half, boring Thursday, and a boring first half of Friday for us Raider fans, because the Raiders don't pick until the third round, and maybe they trade back from there, try to just get some late round picks, try to hit on a couple, maybe a contributor or two, and you go to war, because at the end of the day, the AFC West, you have teams that drafted better than the Raiders around them. It's no secret, but they all have added stars to become better. Right. The Chiefs are somewhat homegrown, I should say, but the Chargers had to add Khalil Mack and and JC Jackson and guys like that. Denver had to add Russell Wilson. You need a couple stars. Some people want that to be the quarterback. Of course, if there was one available, I'd consider it. But I think the Raiders have a good quarterback, and I think they found the best wide receiver. So it's I'm really excited to see that, because they're going to be able to get after quarterbacks. If they're able to somehow get a little bit more at corner, they'll be able to cover guys. And I think the positions you want to be able to, figure out on the fly are box safety, interior defensive line, interior offensive line, right? Those are the ones that you feel like I feel like it's kind of easy to replace a guard, right? Maybe not an all pro guard, but you're able to play a starting guard with another starting guard and not lose a lot of times. Your defensive tackle, very scheme reliant. You find go get a guy. Maybe he's not the best guy in the world, but a guy who can, just like they did with Quentin Jefferson for Bradley last year. And Quentin Jefferson had a nice season with the Raiders, but Quentin Jefferson wasn't somebody on anybody's wish list last year. So I think you're going to see that at defensive tackle. Don't put money into linebackers. That's my new thing. Off-ball linebackers, obviously, those edge rushing ones that rush the passer off the edge, technically outside linebacker. But these guys you see going in the first round, like Devin Lloyd and stuff there's so many other guys when you're in a passing division, a division that's obviously filled with great quarterback play. I like adding guys who can rush the passer and guys that can cover. I don't necessarily need field roaming linebackers at a premium, at a premium. And the good thing about this draft is that there's actually probably going to be some decent linebackers in the third round. There's a deep linebacker class. So that's when I really want to take one, and so yeah, I'm so excited. I'm so excited for this. It just doesn't feel deserved, right? As Raider fans, we're always looking over our shoulder of how this can be bad. And for now, this is why I said be happy during the month of March, because last week Raider fans were on suicide watch, right? And I was like, dude, relax. It's fucking March. And that was the whole point of me doing the stupid Raider Glen stuff, it's not stupid anymore. I'm actually going to keep it going, because what the hell, can't say we've been having bad days since that, but that was my whole thing, is turn into the fanatic. When you're a fan of a team that's been losing for a long time, be a fanatic in March. It's what keeps the train going, man. Stop with the emo shit. So anyways, that's it for me, guys. I just wanted to give a few thoughts on that. Definitely going to have a lot more coverage of this stuff, going on. I'm going to be away for the weekend. So if there's anything crazy that happens over the weekend, I won't be back till about Tuesday, but just wanted to get this video out there. So, all right. I'm at Glen Rockney. I have a Patreon. It's called Patreon. It's called The Back Wall, Patreon/The Back Wall. It's a sports podcast I do with my friend Filthy Armenian. We watch old sporting events and do podcasts over them in the streaming type environment, which is really cool. You get access to video and audio for that. I also have another podcast called Rare Candy, which we've been having a lot of fun with. And we have merchandise. And if you want to follow at Rare Candy Pod 1 on Twitter, you can find out how to support us there. And anyways, everybody have a safe time. Let's watch the March Madness, and just remember, don't let anyone tell you can't win the division this year, because let's just go do it. See you guys.